Hey YouTube, Kevin Cleary here with a knife video. I've got a blade that's really impressive today. This is the Custom Knife Factory Sukhoi. It is the 2.0, so there are some changes from the original. I'm not going to get into all that. You can check out a few other videos. I think Epic Snuggle Bunny specifically mentions all of the differences, but I'm going to mostly worry about focusing on the actual features of this particular one. Okay, let me say that this is a knife I've been interested in for some time and done quite a bit of searching around to get my hands on one, and I'm really happy to be able to get one. I did definitely want the 2.0, and I definitely wanted the satin finish over the black wash finish, and this is a hand rubbed satin finish. It is absolutely gorgeous. All right, this is definitely a photogenic knife. It's a knife that, you know, you can kind of take out and especially if you're outside sitting on the back deck, you know, having a coffee or whatever, you're going to want to just kind of look at this knife. Just a gorgeous tool. So let's get a little bit further with my introduction. Now that you know that I've been looking for this, let me share with you what comes with it. Get a Custom Knife Factory pouch, microfiber cloth, and a certificate of authenticity showing what it is and the blade steel, as well as the date that it was made. They just say they're October 2015. So that's what you're going to get if you buy a knife from Custom Knife Factory. Let me quickly get the fingerprints off that blade so that when I zoom in it's not too noticeable. Size and weight on this. This is a big knife, guys. No question about it. 9¼ inches overall. 4-inch blade. In fact, it's about 4 1/16 by my measurement. 5 1/8 inch handle. It's this direction here. Now, a couple numbers that I should give you because this knife stands out. One, it's very thin in this direction, about 1¼ inch, but it's very thick in this direction, 11/16. So that's more than 5/8 of an inch, right? So fairly thick. For all of that, it only weighs in at 5.2 ounces. Okay, so 5.2 ounces, that's pretty impressive for a knife of this size. And so the two things that combine, number one, obviously the amount of carbon fiber lightens it up, but the two things that kind of come together here are the slimness and that light weight at 5 ounces make this a really comfortable carry knife. So obviously a high-end carry. Okay, the price point on these is fairly substantial, around 400 bucks, but at that price point it is, you know, worth every penny in terms of the quality and the finishes and the details that are involved in this knife. And this is a knife that I didn't have it at the time, but to me I would take this over a Sebenza any day, just on finishes and materials alone. All right, now let's kind of get into the rest of the features that we like to do, and I will zoom in so you can check out in a close-up view this very impressive blade. All right, so there you go. Come on, focus. Perfect. So there's a closer up view of that very nice looking knife, and I will try to point out some of the cool details about this, but we'll start with the blade. So the blade is S35VN drop point, flat ground. There's a little bit of a flat portion here, so it's not quite a full flat grind. Kind of an interesting blade shape, right? The drop point comes a little lower than maybe we're used to seeing, so that you get a lot of straight edge and just a little bit of belly out here at the end. Really functional blade, but that design makes it, you know, it suits the purpose of the knife. Okay, this is not supposed to be a hunting knife. It's not really supposed to be a tactical knife. You're not going to be doing outdoor stuff with it. It's more of a gentleman's folder, an EDC folder, and the blade shape is very well suited to that. It's thick stock, over 1/8 of an inch, or a good 1/8 of an inch thick, but the edge geometry is still decent. Now, it's not as good as other knives that I've had. You know, you're not going to compare this to, say, a cold steel American Lawman or something with that very thin hollow grind, but it's certainly more than capable of everything that I have done with it. Even a little bit of food prep. Now, it's not perfect for that because that fairly thick wedge shape. Let's say you're cutting an apple, where you're likely to split that apple before you actually slice all the way through it. But that's true of a lot of blades, even the hollow ground blades that I am, you know, really fond of. So Blade shape and blade design, very impressive. Before we leave that, just take a good look at the gorgeous hand-rubbed satin finish on that blade. Absolutely impressive. Moving on to lockup and deployment. This knife is double row ceramic ball bearings, so smooth as it can be. Ceramic detent ball as well. The deployment on this is with the thumb stud here, and it's only single-sided. Now you could move it to the other side, but this is really not a lefty-friendly knife because it's only a single-position pocket clip, and because of the way the lock bar is set up. So it's very, very smooth, very, very impressive, okay, but probably not that lefty-friendly. Now, let me say that it did take me about a day to kind of get used to this thumb stud. It's not really a thumb stud. You can see it's sort of a piece of titanium that is screwed onto the side of the blade there. It looks really good. It functions very well, but as I say, it did take me a little bit of getting used to. Now that I am used to it though, I have no problem deploying this blade very, very quickly and consistently. So really no complaints about anything in the lockup and deployment department. Very impressive with the dual row ceramic ball bearings. The lock bar, let me point out too, as we're looking at this, I love the way they've done with this, the carbon fiber overlay kind of hides the interface there you can see between the lock bar and the blade tang. So if you turn the knife this way, you can't really see it. You can tell that this is the lock side because you can see the screw there, and you can see, you know, just that it's inset a little bit when the blade is open. It does have, obviously, you're seeing the screw there for the stainless steel lock bar insert. So it does have that, and so you get a steel on steel interface rather than the steel on titanium. All right, so lockup and deployment, extremely impressive. And that's one of the things that you kind of look for in a high quality knife, is that should feel different. It should feel really, really smooth, and this is absolutely smooth as silk. Definitely comparable to the Garza, but not much else. One of the smoothest knives that I have had the pleasure of owning and using. All right. Again, with these Custom Knife Factory knives, you know, you're getting fit and finish and quality and detail that you're not going to see anywhere other than a custom knife, okay? Even zero tolerance doesn't come quite to the point of the Custom Knife Factory stuff. All right, so it gets close, by the way, and we'll talk about that maybe in a different video. Let's see, lockup and deployment. Let's now move on to the handle, and just notice the handle details. Notice the milling in the carbon fiber, the detail on this titanium, where the two titanium sides have this sort of wave pattern milled into them. You've got a milled titanium clip, which works extremely well. And I feel like I need to point that out now because I'm a big fan of the Apostle, but he's always griping about milled titanium clips that don't fit in pocket. I've got a bunch of milled clips here, and I'll show you when I do comparisons. Every one of them works really well. All right, let's flip this around, and you can see that blue anodized backspacer, really, really well done. And so, yeah, and by the way, these carbon fiber inlays are really, really cool, and they add a lot to the design of this knife overall. Let's see. Next thing that we want to touch on, having considered, oh yeah, we've looked at the details. I haven't really commented on the ergonomics. Let me say that the rounded corners and the extra width here at the back make this really nicely molded to your hand. Extremely comfortable. Now it is a large handle. It's going to work really, really well for someone with larger hands. And there's even enough space here that you can choke up a little bit and do some fine cutting tasks. And I found this useful for like food prep type of stuff. But extremely ergonomic. You know, any grip that you could think of is very good. Even in sort of a reverse sort of pull cut grip where you're going to put the knife in something and pull back towards you, it's actually very comfortable. And a lot of knives that have a sort of a choil here are not. That often makes it so you can't get a good grip in this direction, but not so with this one. Very, very comfortable. No lanyard hole at all anywhere, so if you really are a lanyard guy, you may want to look elsewhere, but I don't know, I don't see the appeal to lanyards, so to me that's not an issue. Let's back out a little bit now that we've talked about pretty well everything, and give you some comparisons. I've got some really good comparisons here, and I would say that if you're interested in a custom knife factory knife, some of the other stuff I've got to show you are things that you probably seriously would want to look at. So first up is Riat knives. This is the Torrent, a little bit smaller, probably a little more traditional in terms of what you expect from a knife. Obviously the M390 steel. And there's some, these are comparable in that they're different details, but both of them have some pretty cool added details that you're not going to see in a lot of other options. All right, I've got to get the carbon fiber and some cool milling. Here is another Riat knife. This is the Valkyrie, of course, and this is a carbon fiber and titanium knife, which does make a really cool blade. And again, now this one is probably again a little more what you're used to in hand, and in terms of the blade shape it's maybe a little more traditional. Of course this is sort of a Persian style blade shape. Again, very smooth ball bearing, and all of these I would say are similar quality levels. Now let me grab a couple of ZTs. The ZT is a company, you know, they're a US company, love ZTs. The details are not quite there, but in terms of performance and features, you're getting a very close to some of these really high-end things when you get into the ZTs. Now in terms of kind of even a step up maybe from this, we've got the Southern Talc Mid-Tech. Blade length is the same. This knife is considerably lighter, so that I've got to say deserves some credit. You know, you've got a lot of blade here. This is still one of my favorite knives. Not quite as detail oriented. Okay, there's a few more things happening on this, a few more interesting features, but again, the Southern Talc is certainly comparable in terms of quality. One more ZT, since we have the carbon fiber on this guy. Here's another carbon fiber titanium frame lock, and of course the design is different. This is going to be a little more of a utilitarian blade. This one I would say you could flex it into outdoor use or tactical use. This one is maybe not quite as suited to those things. All right, so there's some comparisons. Now let me give you finally my overall impression on this blade. I've got to say, guys, that this is a knife that you know, is really outstanding in terms of quality and value. Yeah, they're expensive, but you're getting things on these custom knife factory knives that you wouldn't expect to see outside really of custom knives. And the same is true of some of those others I've shown you. Really impressive. Fit and finish is amazing. Feel in hand. The smoothness of the action on this, just everything about this knife is very impressive. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will talk to you soon.